Today we're getting into the latest Tesla news, including why you may want to wait to buy a Tesla, updated Tesla Semi deliveries, Tesla's next factory, and more, so let's get into it. First up today, a new study from Recurrent has detailed one of people's main concerns with EVs. How do they fare in cold weather? Quote, do electric cars lose range in cold temperatures? Yes, some EVs can lose up to 35% of their range in freezing conditions, but each model performs differently, as our chart illustrates. As they detail, there are two main factors as to why cold weather affects EV range. Chemical and physical reactions in the battery occur more slowly in cold temperatures. This reduces the EV's power. Cold temperatures inhibit chemical reactions and act as resistance that slows down the physical processes. Then, electric cars have to make their own heat. Gasoline vehicles usually make waste heat, but in cold climates, that heat can be redirected to warm the cabin. In an EV, the efficient motor doesn't generate much heat, so any generated heat goes to warming the battery, and the cabin heater requires energy from the main battery, reducing range. Recurrent went through data of over 7,000 cars and charted out how cold weather affects 14 different popular EV models. They are comparing their real-world observed range in 70 degrees Fahrenheit to their real-world observed range in freezing temperatures. Each vehicle's range loss is shown, and we can see that the vehicles that perform the worst relatively in winter are the Chevy Bolt, Mustang Mach-E, and VW ID.4. Each of these vehicles get a range loss of at least 30% when in freezing temperature, compared to 70 degrees Fahrenheit. For Tesla, they actually managed the best overall. The Model 3 lost 17%, Model S lost 19%, Model X lost 15%, and the Model Y lost 15%. This has to do with their thermal management systems, which kick in at high and low temperatures, but the improvements for the Model Y also likely have to do with the new heat pump system. Interestingly, it's important to note how this data is reported. This is the difference between Recurrent's real-world observed driving range in warm versus cold weather. They aren't comparing the full EPA range to cold weather, and this could be part of why Tesla does so well here. It's important to look into the data further and not just assume Tesla is always doing better. They are doing better in the difference you see in warm and cold weather, but their real-world range versus EPA appears to be one of the biggest differences. For each vehicle, Recurrent lists, quote, observed range at 70 degrees Fahrenheit. For a vehicle like the Chevy Bolt, they show that it gets 98% of its original EPA range. In the real world, they're seeing that a Mach-E gets 93% of its original EPA range in 70 degrees, but then only gets 65% of its original EPA range in winter. So that's a big difference there, but the Model 3 at 70 degrees gets 58% of its original EPA range. The Model Y gets 66% of its original EPA range, and then gets 48% of it at 20 to 30 degrees. This is based on Recurrent's vast amount of data, and it's important to note this stuff when owning an EV. Their tips for avoiding winter range loss include preconditioning, preparing for longer charge times, warming the battery, using seat and steering wheel heaters so you can turn your climate controls down a bit, turning off certain hardware features, and storing your Tesla while plugged in. Next up today, Tesla held their Semi-delivery event earlier this month. While it was an exciting event detailing the Semi's ability to travel up to 500 miles on a charge while fully loaded, details were scarce. We still have no idea as to how much the truck ended up being shipped for, how much it weighs, or how many Tesla Semis have been delivered. It could be 2, 20, or 100, as we know Pepsi had originally ordered 5 years ago. Now a new report is saying that Pepsi plans to roll out all 100 Tesla Semis for use in 2023. Quote, PepsiCo is deploying 36 electric trucks from Tesla, with 15 in Modesto and 21 in Sacramento so far. That's the first confirmation we've heard of how many semis are already being deployed. 36 is way more than I think most people expected, and they're reportedly already in use. One very odd comment here relates to the range of the Semi, and comes from PepsiCo Vice President Mike O'Connell. He said that the Semi can haul Frito-Lay products for about 425 miles, but for heavier loads of sodas, the truck will do shorter trips of around 100 miles. Quote, dragging a trailer full of chips around is not the most intense, tough task. In this article, Pepsi doesn't mention the cost of the truck, but, quote, O'Connell said that a 425-mile trip carrying Frito-Lay products brings the Semi's battery down to roughly 20%, and recharging it takes around 35 to 45 minutes. These comments on range may be something we get more clarification on in the future. It appears it's still getting that full 500-mile range when using the full battery based on his comments. Also, when he mentions shorter trips for sodas, he could simply be saying that the truck will do shorter trips for 100 miles, not that it's only capable of doing such. According to Tesla, the Semi fully loaded at 82,000 pounds can travel 500 miles on a charge, so this shouldn't make any difference. Pepsi added that when Tesla makes the 300-mile range Semi, they'll be adding those to their fleet. We'll see if we get any more details here and whether this was a miscommunication or not. Next up today, new tax credit details may finally confirm that you'll want to wait to buy a Tesla. Quote, the United States Treasury Department announced it will delay its guidance in regard to the sourcing requirements for battery materials in order for EVs to qualify for federal tax credits. Starting January 1st, lots of new requirements will take effect for the updated EV tax credit, but many noted that this would quickly disqualify a number of popular EVs in the US before their battery supply chain can be adjusted. This is because half of the tax credit, $3,750 of it, requires, quote, minimum percentage of critical minerals must be extracted or processed in the US or free trade partners or recycled in North America. The other half requires that minimum percentage of battery components must be manufactured or assembled in North America. With this new change, these battery requirements are being delayed until sometime in March. So from January to March of 2023, the EV tax credit should be fully available with only the requirements of North American assembly, MSRP caps, and salary caps. Meaning cars that inevitably won't qualify for the battery guidance requirements will fully qualify in the first few months of the year. As for the requirements, quote, the US Treasury said it will release information on the anticipated direction of its battery guidance by December 31st. Furthermore, the critical mineral and battery component requirements take effect only after Treasury issues that proposed rule. This is a pretty big deal because it could mean that the beginning of 2023 is the ideal time to buy a few EVs in particular. Until this is in place, Tesla and GM have met their manufacturer's sales cap. This has excluded either brand from being eligible for tax incentives on purchase, but that cap is being dropped come January 1st. At the same time, there won't be strict battery requirements for a couple months, which in theory should mean that taking delivery of a standard range Tesla Model 3 in January of 2023, which as far as we know wouldn't qualify fully because of the battery coming from China, will get you a $7,500 tax credit. This could bring your sale price down from $48,990 to $41,490. For a Model Y, it could bring your sale down from $65,990 to $58,490. In theory, though, we are expecting that the Model Y would qualify for the full tax credit regardless. Another thing that's important to keep in mind is that this is a tax credit, not a point of sale credit yet as far as we know. For any Model 3 or Model Y, it should be the same, and this is why Tesla has completely changed how they're selling their EVs in the US for the rest of the year. When you go to the website for any Tesla right now, Model Y, 3, S, or X, instead of a button that brings you to a page to configure a vehicle, there is a Buy Now button. This takes you directly to Tesla's inventory page, where for the first time in a while, there is ample inventory of every vehicle they sell, even the Model Y. On top of this, they are offering pretty substantial incentives to take delivery in December. The vehicle page for the Model Y and 3 says, take delivery of a new Model Y in December 2022 for a $3,750 credit and 10,000 miles of free supercharging. This is to encourage customers not to wait until 2023 to take delivery, but waiting might still be the right situation for you. Here's a flowchart from Electrek breaking down EV incentives for individuals. If your adjusted gross income is at or below $150,000 as an individual, $225,000 as head of household, or $300,000 as joint household, you qualify. If the vehicle is a sedan and below $55,000, or an SUV, van, or pickup under $80,000, then that car qualifies. Then if it's assembled in North America, that should be the only step required until March, when the next two battery requirements come into full effect. This could be a really great deal for those who qualify, but if you don't qualify due to high income or a price-capped vehicle configuration, like a long-range or performance Model 3, buying in the last week of the year might be the smartest. You'll get $3,750 from Tesla and 10,000 supercharger miles, good for 2 years. I'm mentioning Teslas here, but another vehicle that should fully qualify in this weird early 2023 limbo period is the Chevy Bolt. The base model Chevy Bolt starts at $25,600 MSRP, and according to this recent report, should qualify for the full $7,500 tax credit in January. That's $7,500 more than it qualifies for today, and it could bring the sale price of that car down to $18,100. $18,100 for an EV with a range around 250 miles. That car has its flaws with fast charging and other things, but absolutely cannot be beat at that price point. It could be a really great option for those looking for an affordable EV to get into soon. The assumption here is that the Bolt would qualify for half of that incentive come March of 2023 when full battery requirements come into effect. It could be a very similar situation with other popular EVs, making this limbo a great time to purchase and save on your EV. For many people, it could end up much better than the incentives they're offering to push inventory this quarter. What's important to remember with all of this, though, is that it's based on a number of assumptions. We don't know 100% how these tax credits will work. Getting a Chevy Bolt at MSRP could prove challenging, and Tesla could absolutely do anything with pricing come 2023. Maybe you'll wait in order to get the $7,500 tax credit, but something changes there, or Tesla decides to raise their prices, negating your savings. At the same time, maybe Tesla will lower prices come 2023 to ensure all of their cars qualify under MSRP caps, and you get a full $7,500 off, making waiting the best possible deal. Better than $3,750 and 10,000 supercharger miles. It's a really weird limbo period where Tesla is pushing inventory and many are waiting to take delivery or canceling their orders. We'll really have to wait and see what happens come January, but this information is great to keep track of to ensure you get the best possible deal on your EV purchase. Next up today, another new report is saying that Tesla's Gigafactory Mexico will be announced in the coming days. Last week we reported on Tesla looking at a possible factory location in Mexico, and now another local report has announced similar. Quote, Tesla could announce the construction of a Gigafactory in the northern Mexico state of Nuevo Leon as soon as Friday, with an initial investment of between $800 million and $1 billion, local newspaper Reforma reported Monday. The total investment could eventually reach $10 billion, and the plans are outlined, saying, quote, the Mexican Gigafactory, planned on the outskirts of the city Monterrey, would start by building components for current Tesla models, a source told Reforma, later possibly building a new model at a lower cost than other factories. While they mentioned that this announcement could come as soon as Friday from Tesla, they also mention it may come after Christmas or in January. The overall goal of this factory is still unclear. Cars assembled in Mexico would qualify for EV tax incentives since they are assembled in North America like the Mach-E is, so that could make sense for Tesla long term. Chevy also plans to assemble the Blazer EV there. Mexico also shares a border with Texas, where Tesla's large Gigafactory and headquarters are now located, so it may create easy routes for shipping and export. It'll be interesting to see this one develop because it could end up being a big piece of what leads to a future $25,000 Tesla. It seems Tesla isn't incredibly focused on that car and is instead focused on the Model Y Cybertruck and future robo-taxi, but this could enable them to make that car and have it qualify for US tax incentives. Maybe they'll end up selling it for $35,000, customers get $7,500 off, and it's basically what they originally promised, right? I'll be sure to follow up when we hear any confirmations for this new Tesla factory location. Next up today, Tesla has announced that they have completed over 500,000 solar panels and solar roof installations. They announced this on Twitter saying, quote, we've completed 500,000 plus solar panel and solar roof installations. That's equal to around 4 gigawatts of clean energy. On average, that means installations have been about 8 kilowatts. That's a big milestone for Tesla Solar, but they do appear to be changing the way they're installing solar. Rather than working as the installer, they appear to be moving towards being more of a supplier and relying on third-party installers to deploy Tesla solar products. Last up today, some updates about other automakers. The Rivian R1T earned a Top Safety Award from IIHS. It's a Top Safety Pick Plus, and these are some of the first crash test results we've seen from this truck. It's great to see these results as NHTSA still hasn't released their Rivian safety results. According to IIHS, quote, the crew cab pickup meets all the requirements for the higher tier award. All trims come with good rated LED projector headlights and a standard front crash prevention system that earns superior ratings in both the vehicle-to-vehicle and daytime vehicle-to-pedestrian tests. They released photos and videos of the crash tests, which are both painful to watch and good to watch from a safety perspective. The Rivian joins only one other pickup truck to have this Top Safety Pick Plus award, the Toyota Tundra, and is the only electric truck to win this award yet. They joined good EV company here with the Kia EV6, Ioniq 5, Tesla Model 3 and Y, and Audi e-tron, among many others. Great to see these good results from Rivian on their first vehicle. Speaking of electric trucks, Toyota just unveiled their first electric pickup truck in Thailand. It's a prototype and begs the question as to where Toyota will ultimately sell this truck. This has a single cab with extended bed and looks very much designed for the Thai market. Most expect it'll be a long time before we see anything like this from Toyota in the US. Audi just announced that they are preparing to convert their entire network of global factories into EV factories. They plan to complete this transition by 2029. Audi said, quote, the path Audi is taking conserves resources and accelerates our transformation to a provider of sustainable premium mobility. They are particularly looking to cut annual factory costs in half by 2033 as well. Quote, we want to structure both product and production so we get the optimum benefit for our customers. They will achieve this with certain manufacturing process innovations. GM has announced that they plan to install chargers at their dealers as part of their dealer community program. They say this will help build their position in the new EV era by by adding 40,000 chargers, but they are firm that they are going with level 2 chargers. Quote, with nearly 90% of the US population living within 10 miles of a GM dealership, the company rolled out its dealer charging community program in October 2021. GM's vice president of the EV ecosystem said that's going to be hugely consequential to the decision of which EV people want to choose. We know that's going to catapult General Motors to a leadership category in EVs. However, quote, participating dealers are eligible to receive up to 10 19.2 kilowatt level 2 charging stations, allowing drivers to get a roughly 80% battery charge in under 3 hours. 3 hours is a charge time that GM is installing at dealers. In my opinion, while these chargers won't be entirely useless, they won't make an impact for customers. Level 2 chargers can be useful at hotels, restaurants, malls, and other places, but nobody wants to spend 3 hours or longer at a dealership. It's another sign that worries me for the future of EVs and companies like GM making a lot of promises but not really understanding charging infrastructure. Tesla clearly understands this, and it may continue being a significant advantage for a long time. Over at Ford, they teased a new mid-size EV crossover coming from Germany. This should be adding to their global EV goals, and it appears to be a model specifically designed for the European market. That's all the latest Tesla news for today, so in the meantime, if you want to see a collaboration from some of your favorite Tesla and EV YouTubers about 2023 predictions, you can check out that video linked up here or in the description below. Thanks so much for watching, and I'll see you on the next one.